8 attendees at this point. We will give it a few more minutes.
Yeah, perfect. Give some people an opportunity to join, and then we'll get started in a minute or so.
Okay. Say to everyone ahead of time, in the age of Zoom, if I have screaming kids or a barking dog in the background, I apologize ahead of time. I will do my best to keep them out. I will give it a couple more minutes. It's 6:33. I'm seeing a couple more attendees come online. I know we're busy, but I think we can afford a couple more to make sure we get everybody at the beginning of the presentation. Okay, all right, Devin. You want to pull to the next slide? Thank you, everyone. I want to welcome you. My name is Johnny Carrier. I want to welcome you to the Farmington High School Building Committee Union Neighborhood presentation. As I said, my name is Johnny Carrier. I'm a resident of Farmington and a member of this FHS Building Committee. The Farmington High School Building Committee was appointed in May of 2019. We were directed by the town council to solicit and evaluate conceptual design options from 2 noted school architectural firms to provide the town council with information required to set the overall project scope and municipal project cost range. After a 9-month competitive process, we thoroughly reviewed the conceptual designs from each, which included an option for maintaining the current facility, second, doing a major renovation, and third and finally, a new building or a new school. We recommended the construction of a new high school as the best solution to address the Board of Education's statement of needs. And on February 4th, 2020, the town council unanimously voted to select a new building solution. The new high school will provide a flexible and engaging learning environment for our students and the community. Myself, I've had the privilege to visit the new high school often during this process, listen to every presentation and comment from both professionals and our town citizens alike. And within this building committee and the last, the recommendations have been overwhelmingly that a new school is needed in my personal opinion, is the same. The overall cost of doing nothing or doing the minimum will be in the long term more. There are just too many items that are lacking, as we will point out together tonight through this presentation. Before we present the details of the proposed high school project, we would like to take the opportunity to hear from town leaders on the importance of this new high school project. Tonight, we are joined by Carrie Palumbo, Town Council member, Edward Gianeros, Town Council member, Christine Arnold, Board of Education member, Bill Becker, Board of Education member, and Sylvie Bennett, Board of Education member. I'd like to introduce Edward Gianeros, Town Council member.
Good evening. On behalf of the Town Council, we are glad you are joining us tonight so you can learn about the high school project. This is an exciting and necessary investment for our students and our community. As a result of strategic and responsible fiscal planning, the town is well positioned to move forward with the new high school project. The Town Council fully supports this project. It is the right solution at the right time.
Thank you, Edward. Now I'd like to introduce Bill Becker, Board of Education member.
Good evening. My name is Bill Becker, and I'm a member of the Board of Education. As a Board of Education, we are unified in our support for the proposed new high school. The proposed new high school addresses all the needs of the current high school facility while supporting educational programming now and into the future. The time is now to address the current facility in a comprehensive manner. We are thrilled to share the details of the new high school facility with our community and join together to support this project.
Thank you, Bill. The goal of our presentation is to provide information on the FHS building project and to answer specific questions related to the proposed project. We encourage that all participants use the Q&A feature to submit a question during this presentation. There will be a dedicated Q&A section at the end of the presentation. Comments or questions can be sent to the building committee anytime by using the comment form on the website, www.fhsbuildingproject.org. Public comment is also welcome in the building committee meetings held every other Wednesday. The next building committee meeting will be April 21st at 6:30 p.m., which is tomorrow. To begin our formal presentation, we are happy to have a teacher that also lives in town with us tonight. I'd like to introduce Kim Aloysius, of the teacher at Union School, who will give a statement on the FHS building project.
Hi, my name is Kim Aloysius, and I am a special education teacher at Union School. And I'm also one of your neighbors, and my 3 children attend our schools. I'm proud to live and work in Farmington. The high school building project is extremely important to me and my fellow educators. Farmington students have traditionally led way beyond their K-12 education as successful and contributing citizens. However, expectations have changed when it comes to the knowledge, skills, and dispositions required to compete on a global level for college admissions and in the work environment. A new high school will advance 21st century teaching and learning aligned to Farmington vision of the global citizen, given the design of high school. The vision is directly aligned to what many companies cite as the knowledge, skills, and dispositions they are seeking in employees now and into the future. Please join me in supporting this project that will benefit Farmington students as well as our community as a destination for not only an exemplary education for Farmington's children now and into the future, but also a gathering place in our community for events and enrichment. A new high school will enhance the experience of all residents living in our wonderful town.
Thank you, Kim. Why build a new high school? The current facility has reached its limits for providing 21st century programming and learning spaces that prepare today's leaders to be part of a global solution. It would be costly to renovate the current high school for today's flexible and adaptable teaching methods. It would involve major and costly renovations to bring the current high school up to safety and security standards. The enrollment at FHS is projected to increase by 10% within the next 9 years. As a comprehensive statement of needs that was created by the Board of Education and approved by the Town Council in February of 2019, the statement of needs is the basis for recommending building a new high school. The main issues are accreditation and accessibility. The New England Association of School and Colleges has placed FHS on warning status for serious facilities deficiencies, including ADA access, heating and ventilation problems, leaky roof, inadequate science, cafeteria, auditorium, and library and media facilities, and other facilities issues that limit educational opportunities for students. Also, there's secure compliance. FHS has already experienced 7 additions, renovations before the heightened security expectations were even a consideration. Then there's the sprawling layout. FHS is large, inefficient, mostly one-floor facility with too many long, narrow hallways. Educational programming. FHS is nearing its capacity to provide 21st century programming and learning spaces that prepare students for the future. Lastly, there's energy efficiency, and FHS is not energy efficient and not cost effective. To learn more about the statement of needs, there is a dedicated page on the Building Committee's website, www.fhsbuildingproject.org. Over the past 70 years, Farmington High School received numerous additions, which has resulted in the sprawling layout that you see in this picture. This contributes to the narrow and crowded hallways, 23 separate entrances, and a lack of parking on the site, and not enough classroom space. Now I'd like to introduce Kimberly Nguyen, Assistant Superintendent of Schools.
Thank you, John. And thank you to families and community members here tonight. Farmington's vision of the global citizen leads the way we think about curriculum, programming, instruction, and now the design of a new high school. If our students are to become self-aware, resourceful learners who can think critically, problem solve, and work effectively with diverse groups of people, and ultimately make contributions to a better world, then they can't be just passively sitting in cube-like classrooms, listening to a teacher lecture and copying notes off the board. Our high school students in the second decade of the 21st century are engaged in a more active, collaborative, and self-directed kind of learning. They work on projects where they are expected to apply knowledge to complex problems. This looks like classroom spaces organized for small groups, circle-up debates, demonstrations, and partner work. And it changes from day to day or even period by period. Flexible space is critical. A new building design would allow students to spill out into common spaces between classrooms in cluster areas and meet with students in companion classes. We would like to do more interdisciplinary projects, and a cluster concept would allow for that. We need space for our students to post their work on the walls or on display tables because they engage in critique and feedback protocols. With critique and feedback as essential components of our learning model, students circulate and view each other's work in progress as models for their own learning. They comment on and provide suggestions for improvement, much like the work of professionals out in the field. Today's students are more involved in hands-on making and doing. Students are creating and producing, again, more active than passive, and doing the real work of scientists, musicians, artists, engineers, builders, and designers. A new high school would give us state-of-the-art spaces for this kind of learning. High school students learn best when they have a blend of independent and interdependent time for thinking, writing, reflection, reading, and research. They need quiet spaces to focus on their own work and collaborative spaces to meet with peers and talk about that work. We know that students are more motivated when they can make connections between what they're learning in school and something they care about in the world. We want a building to be alive with the representations of what students care about and how they're making an impact. We need space to exhibit and present work, to engage with virtual and in-person experts, and gather as small communities with a common goal or purpose. Space can encourage and promote student voice and engagement. And of course, above all, the environment for learning at FHS must be inclusive and respectful of all individuals. It must welcome everyone, allow access for all, and express a feeling of community and care. A place where everyone can grow and discover their personal talents and interests. Physical barriers, crowded hallways, undersized spaces, and outdated heating and cooling systems impact students' feelings of physical and emotional safety and comfort when they are at school. So once again, we need a building that will reflect and allow for the kinds of learning students that prepares our students to become global citizens, students who are thinkers, collaborators, contributors, empowered learners, and self-aware individuals. All of these kinds of spaces truly make a difference in the day-to-day learning environment of Farmington High School. Right now, we do the very best that we can with boxy classrooms and long empty hallways, a tiny library, an undersized auditorium with broken seats and nowhere else to go for smaller presentations or performances. But we can imagine the joy and energy of students and teachers together, as well as our community, in a space designed for limitless potential.
Thank you, Kim. A site evaluation subcommittee, which I was a part of, was responsible for researching possible or alternate site options for FHS and to identify and document site constraints and benefits. After a full review and analysis of potential alternate sites in Farmington, it was determined that the current municipal site was the only viable option. A copy of the detailed analysis is accessible on the building committee website. The proposed site design for the new 3-story, 239,000 square foot high school conserves resources, improves safety and security, improves traffic flow and vehicular circulation on the site, as well as improving traffic on Monteith Drive, provides additional parking, and because of the location of the new building, there will be no disruption to teaching and learning during the construction. This next slide illustrates how the building would look from the outside. The upper picture shows how the building would present itself to visitors. The main entrance would be prominent and secure. The administrative offices are located on the left side of the entrance with a clear view of visitors approaching the building. The exterior is constructed in an energy efficient and durable material such as masonry and glass, which are also easy to maintain. Farmington High School is more than a building. It's more than a school building. It's also a public asset. The new high school will have separate public entrances for use after hours to spaces such as the cafeteria, auditorium, and gymnasium. The picture at the bottom of the slide illustrates the entrance located on the loud side of the building, which faces the football field and the renovated 900 wing, containing team lockers and the district's central office. The upper picture in this slide illustrates the opposite side of the building, the quiet side of the building that faces the neighbors. This side of the building contains the academic classrooms without a public entrance. This side also has a paved walkway that is gated at each end to prevent vehicular access, except for in an emergency. So the design for the new high school includes safeguards against future pandemics. While maintaining proper social distancing and wearing face coverings are probably the most effective in reducing the risk of exposure to a virus, certain features in the design of the buildings can certainly help. The new FHS building will have larger classrooms, wider corridors, easily cleanable surfaces, and touchless plumbing features. It will have new ventilation systems, a higher level of air infiltration, and the ability to automatically flush air out of the building on a regular basis. Also, the ventilation system will have separate zones that will make it easier to separate different cohorts of students and staff and isolate the zones in order to prevent cross-contamination. Next, we will play a video that provides the side-by-side comparison of the current high school with the new school.
Thank you for joining me. My name is Megan Guerrera, and I'm the chairperson of the Farmington High School Building Committee. In our time together, we will review both the current and new Farmington High School. Please take note of the significant space, safety, and learning limitations of the current Farmington High School as compared to the many opportunities for engaged, inclusive, and safe learning provided by the new Farmington High School. Much of the high school was built when the enrollment was 800 students. Farmington High School now enrolls approximately 1,300 students. 10 additions have been added over the years to try to address the growing student population, but there are many spaces that cannot accommodate today's teaching methods. The proposed building provides flexible spaces that can accommodate a variety of teaching methods and a variety of instruction, including individual, small group, and large group instruction. The building also creates communities of learners by clustering classrooms around breakout areas, faculty offices, and support spaces. The new facility is planned for future student population growth over the next decade. There are 23 separate entry points. Sightline issues, challenges in separating the high school boundary to public access points, inadequate lighting inside and outside of the building creates a challenging building orientation. The current parking lot configuration does not provide nearly enough parking. Clear walking pathways present safety concerns and do not meet current standards for school safety. The entrance will be obvious to visitors arriving at the new FHS. The single main entrance is centrally located at the convergence of car, bus, and pedestrian approaches. A wide pedestrian-safe walkway leads directly to the front door. The school office is located immediately adjacent to the front door with a clear view of visitors approaching the buildings. During a 4-minute passing period, sometimes close to 1,000 students move through our hallway intersections. This creates crowded movement and not much time for students to get to their classes. The new FHS provides generous circulation paths filled with natural light from above. Major assembly spaces such as the library, cafeteria, and auditorium could be located along a central corridor, which is large enough to serve as breakout areas or as a lobby for those assembly spaces. The overcrowding we face at Farmington High School is experienced daily in our basic classrooms. They are occupied every period of the day, making it difficult to hold planning meetings, meet with small groups of students, or host special programs. The classrooms have ongoing problems, including a range of temperature fluctuations as a result of no air conditioning, ongoing leaks, and aging equipment. The remote second floor of the original 1928 building currently houses the Art and World Language departments. These classrooms are small, cramped, hot in the warm weather months, and cold in the winter. There is very little storage. In process, a completed student artwork clutters the classrooms and hallways. These spaces are only handicap accessible via the outdated and many times non-operating elevator. There are a number of students taking business classes who would tend to pursue business programs in their post-secondary education. Unfortunately, there is only one business classroom. Due to this limitation, we cannot keep up with the increasing enrollment and interest in advanced technology and business studies. Technology is at the center of 21st century teaching and learning, yet our entire data center is in a former classroom. The space is too small for the equipment and for staff to support all of our technology needs. Loud and distracting dehumidifiers are present in most of our math classrooms because of a moisture problem in this part of the building. This creates a challenging learning environment for teachers and students. The new FHS provides natural light in classrooms and other learning spaces. This photograph shows how light shelves along the windows can direct daylight upward and across the ceiling, making the classrooms very bright. The school includes movable furniture and technology for multiple learning formats, offering individual and small group configurations and greater flexibility in the scheduling of classrooms for different departments. Teacher workstations could be located elsewhere in shared collaborative spaces. The lack of space we face at the high school is evident in the amphitheater. It was originally designed for special events and meetings, but must now be used every period of the day for classes and study halls. The new FHS provides large instructional spaces that are fully accessible and that offer excellent visibility of instructional walls, adjustable lighting, proper acoustical treatment, and new audiovisual equipment. Newer technology can be incorporated within the spaces to support distance learning and collaborative instruction from multiple remote locations. Our current music room is an example of the challenges that growing enrollment can place on a program. This space is too small for the number of students who attend music classes. Students often have to practice in hallways and stairwells. There is also insufficient storage for instruments and other equipment. Most importantly, it is not ADA compliant or accessible for our disabled students. The new FHS provides rooms that can support large and small group assemblies for music practice, with the appropriate acoustic separation from adjacent spaces and with acoustical treatment within the rooms. The music room in the photograph is designed with a flat floor in order to maximize flexibility, and the movable tiered seating can be reconfigured as needs change. The room has windows for natural lighting and sound absorptive and reflective wall panels to optimize acoustics. Due to a lack of teaching space, the science labs must also function as classrooms and workspaces. There is insufficient storage for scientific chemicals and equipment, which can create a safety issue for our students and teachers. We are very careful when working with them, but are still limited due to the dated space. The new FHS provides bench-centered learning stations with good sight lines to the demonstration table. The photograph shows a high school science lab with operable windows to enhance the work environment. Ample daylighting reduces the need for artificial lighting, thereby saving energy. Durable finishes such as seamless flooring simplifies maintenance. In applied arts classes, students work with power tools and all kinds of objects. The classroom is too small to expand on project opportunities, as these types of projects require sufficient space to ensure student safety. The new FHS provides clean, safe, and organized workspaces with adequate storage facilities for materials and tools. Shop infrastructure should include acoustic separation of spaces, sensible distribution of utilities, and ample ventilation with dust filtration. For safety reasons, power equipment should be spaced appropriately and have proper safety features with emergency disconnects. There is no access to the second-level library for disabled students. The current library is not compliant with ADA standards. There is just not enough space for growth and student use. The new FHS provides a very visible, centrally located library with space for a variety of activities, such as individual study, small group discussion, and project work. Movable furniture can offer opportunities for rearranging spaces to accommodate evening meetings and presentations. The auditorium at Farmington High School, like many of our larger spaces, is inadequate to serve the needs of our community. A high school auditorium should accommodate at least half of the student population. Ours currently holds less than 1/3. Additionally, the space is not ADA compliant. This arrangement is problematic for large crowds, as entering and exiting the rows is difficult and distracting. Finally, poor acoustics and insufficient lighting for student productions hinders the capabilities for educational and community programming. A properly functioning high school auditorium provides a fully accessible space that serves the needs of the entire community as well as the students. It should act as a general place of assembly for everyone, as well as a learning environment for students, particularly those active in dramatic and musical events as performers, or as technicians in activities such as set building, staging, and media controlling. For that reason, features such as catwalks for stage lighting are designed with student safety in mind. Our cafeteria cannot accommodate the size of our current student body. 4 lunch waves must be organized, the first beginning before 10 a.m., which is when food can legally begin being served. Those students are not only scheduled for lunch at 9:50 a.m., but they must also get their food and eat in under 30 minutes. This is difficult with the number of students assigned to each lunch wave. Additionally, a minimum of 5 faculty members must be assigned to monitor each lunch wave, which is challenging given faculty teaching schedules. The cafeteria is also used for study halls in the beginning and end of the day due to insufficient classroom space. At times, nearly 200 students are assigned to a cafeteria study hall. This is hardly an environment conducive to student academic achievement, and again, several teachers must be assigned to monitor these large crowds. The new FHS provides a cafeteria that can serve not only as a space for dining, but also as a space for other activities during the day and on evenings and weekends. The space in the photograph is a high school cafeteria, and it also functions as a ticketing lobby for the auditorium and the gym, as a concession area, and as an assembly space for various meetings and presentations. The old gym is too small to hold any athletic events. Therefore, it can only be used for storage, small practices, and some gym classes. The main gym is not ADA compliant or handicap accessible when the bleachers are pulled out. There is no air conditioning, so it is often very hot during late spring and autumn events. It is also located directly across from the auditorium, so these two popular areas must compete in terms of space, sound, crowd control, and parking. The new FHS provides a gym for phys ed and athletic team events and is large enough for major assemblies of the student body. The high school gym in the photograph features a roof with a sawtooth configuration that allows daylight to enter into the gym, creating a pleasant, uplifting space. This gym is divisible by an overhead gym curtain and contains retractable seating on both sides. The high school currently lacks adequate breakout spaces for collaborative class activities. As a result, students must sit on the hallway floors when doing group work. This is not an ideal learning environment. The new FHS provides ample opportunity for breakout spaces adjacent to teacher work areas and near classroom clusters. Breakout spaces that are comfortable and attractive can offer greater opportunity for spontaneous discussion, group activities, and interdisciplinary teamwork. Highly visible areas such as the one shown in this photograph can be flexible gathering spaces between classrooms, and they can be the focal point of a smaller learning community. The location of the administrative offices in the existing facility is problematic. School administration does not have a direct view of the visitors approaching the building. In fact, the front office is located deep within the footprint of the existing building, quite far from the front door. Faculty offices are inadequate, and they are placed in various remote locations in the existing building. This does not encourage cross-disciplinary collaboration among teachers, and it makes interdepartmental planning very difficult. The new FHS administrative offices will be located in the main entrance of the building. This provides maximum views of people entering the building for security purposes. Faculty offices will be placed in each of the learning communities to encourage interdisciplinary collaboration. The existing building has been renovated and enlarged so many times that its infrastructure is poorly arranged, with multiple heating and cooling systems of various vintages, a bewildering distribution of wiring for electricity, and a confusing maze of piping for plumbing and drainage. This makes maintenance difficult and costly. Many components are outdated and replacement parts are no longer made. Most of the existing building is only 1 story in height, resulting in many roofs of different ages, with many joints between those roofs. The result is an existing facility that has reoccurring failures in its infrastructure. The new FHS is planned to minimize its roof area and its exterior wall area. The design uses energy-efficient walls and windows to reduce heat loss in the winter and heat gain in the summer. Walls will have more insulation and less infiltration, and new maintenance-free windows will improve security and energy efficiency. The new mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems will be arranged to maximize efficiency and simplify maintenance.
Okay, thank you for that great video. So we'll move on to estimated project cost. So the estimated total project cost is approximately $135.6 million. The town council set a net municipal project maximum of $110 million for the project, which the FHS Building Committee is committed to delivering a project below the net municipal projected maximum. This will be offset by a reimbursement from the state of Connecticut, estimated at approximately $26.3 million.
Because of Farmington's ongoing retirement of existing bonded debt, there will only be 5 years, fiscal years 2023 to 2027, that the high school project will increase the property tax. For example, the impact on a homeowner with an average assessed value of $226,777 is estimated to be $466 in total over those 5 years, averaging $93 per year or under $8 per month. In the remaining years of the bond, there is no incremental increases to taxes due to the high school debt issues, as the required debt service is absorbed by the retirement of old debt. Remember that assessment is 70% of the market value of your house. So a house assessed at $226,777 has a market value of approximately $324,000.
Thank you, Kat. Moving on to project timeline. The first line shows the proposed date for the town council approval of this project on May 11, 2021. At this time, the town council will send the project to referendum. Once the referendum is set, the election laws prohibit both municipalities from using taxpayer dollars to advocate for the approval of the referendum question. The next line shows a tentative referendum date for June 3rd of this year. This proposed date for Farmington voters to cast their ballot toward the proposed new high school. Prior to the referendum, we will be preparing a state grant application for submission no later than June 30th, 2021. The application holds our spot with the Office of School Construction Grants for state-funded reimbursements. Immediately following the approval of the referendum, the design team will start on the final construction documents. This process takes a year to complete and would bring our progress into the summer of 2022. Next, the construction firms will be engaged through a formal bidding process, and construction would commence in September, following the start of the new school year in 2022. There will be no disruption to teaching and learning during construction. There will be a fenced-off section that will be clearly marked that separates the current high school from the building site. Students could expect to start their 2024 school year in the new building following a 2-year construction period. The renovation of the 900 wing would begin in the summer of 2024, along with the demolition of the remaining buildings, leaving remaining site work and relocated athletic fields to be completed by the summer of 2025. At this time, we have reserved 20 minutes for a question and answer period. Kat Kudowski will facilitate this part of the presentation. As a reminder, questions can be submitted to the building committee at any time using the comment form on our website. Kat will read the questions received and direct them to the appropriate person to answer. Please note, similar questions will be grouped together.
Thank you, Johnny. So we have a few that have been submitted already. I'll give another minute or so for a few to come in, but we'll get started. The first one we received is, how will the new building not interfere with the current high school as construction goes along with traffic issues? How long will it take to build? Either maybe Richard or Chris, if you could speak to the project timeline and the lack of disruption that it would have on the current building.
Sure. I can start, and then maybe Chris, you can follow up if there's some supplemental.
That's fine.
There are, well, first of all, let me start with the duration. The new building will take about 2 years to build, as you saw in the slide that was up a minute ago that outlined the project timeline. So new construction of the building is 2 years, and that's followed by demolition of the existing building and then the remaining site work. Regarding minimizing the interference to the existing students, there are 3 strategies that need to be taken. And we did do a diagram that illustrates how the building will be placed on the site. The first strategy is to make improvements to Monteith Drive. That's critical to improve the traffic situation of people coming in and out of the site. The plan is to widen Monteith Drive, both inbound and outbound sides of the drive, to allow for 2 legitimate lanes plus a reinforced shoulder as a potential emergency bypass lane. So that will be improved. The second strategy is to make sure that all construction activity is scheduled. People coming in and out for construction activity can't do it whenever they please. It must be scheduled. And that's pretty normal. You can make that a requirement of the contractors who are working on the site. And then the third strategy is to place the footprint of the building as far as possible from the existing building. Now, if you come up onto the site, you can see that the site divides into two halves. Right now, if you go up Monteith Drive on the left side, that's the western side. That's where all the existing building is presently located. And on the right side, or the eastern side, that's where you have some tennis courts and you have a ball field and some open space. So we would be placing the new building, which would be a 3-story building, a very compact form of the building on the eastern side, as far as possible from the existing building. That site would be fenced to keep it secure, and in this way, we can keep the construction zone completely separate from the existing building. And once the new building is finished, which would be in the summer of 2024, then during that summer, all of the activity would move to the new building. When students return in September, they would be occupying the new building. And then the construction activity would be focused on the western side of the site when demolition occurs. So that's the strategy taken to minimize interference with the existing school. Chris, I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, I can just expand a little bit in that through the RFQ review process with the construction managers, we will definitely stress the fact that they need to have experience managing construction on occupied sites like this. And furthermore, we will, as you mentioned, Richard, we will have a site layout drawing showing fencing areas, drive lanes. We'll have all that clearly identified prior to going out to bid. So whoever the contractors are that are bidding on it will be clear with what they have to provide.
Thank you, guys. The next question we have is, how much % of the current high school is air conditioned? Mary, you're in that building. I don't know if you would know that off the top of your head or anecdotally, how much is air conditioned currently?
Well, I would say, I don't know in terms of percentages, but I'm thinking about the building, and the 1928 building is largely unair conditioned except for some window units. So it does get very hot and humid in that whole building when the weather gets warm. The math wing, the 700 wing, is air conditioned, but we have humidity problems in that wing. So we have dehumidifiers that are quite loud that have to run, particularly in the hot and humid weather, to keep the humidity down. The science wing is air conditioned. The cafeteria is air conditioned. The English wing is unair conditioned, I think, except for some window air conditioners, but that's also largely unair conditioned. Trying to think if the special education area is again under air conditioned. There are window units, but there's no unified air conditioning system. I think the most frustrating thing about the air conditioning in the building is how variable it is. So you can walk from a math classroom, which is quite cool and comfortable, up to the world language area where it is so hot that it's unbearable. And every 42 minutes in our old system, when we had 42-minute periods, you would be, leaving one space to go to another, and you just couldn't count on what the conditions would be from one room to another. So just really an unreliable environment for students to navigate every day. And the converse is true in the winter. So the areas that tend to be air conditioned tend to have better heating systems, and the ones that are not air conditioned tend to have really unreliable heating systems. So if you have a world language class, you might be very cold in that room and then relatively comfortable in a science classroom.
Thank you, Mary. The next question that we received is, I heard you say that FHS is on warning to lose NEASC accreditation. What is the status of that? And what would a loss of accreditation mean for our high school, our students, and our town? Kim Nguyen, would you be able to address that?
Sure. So right now, yes, we've been placed on warning status. And primarily that's for issues related to access and ADA compliance, as well as the limitations that the building is placing on expanded programming and improvements to academic offerings for students. In order to respond to the warning status, we've had to demonstrate that the town and the board are engaged in a process of looking at these issues and addressing them through this very process that we're in the design and development of a new high school. However, if this process stalls or comes to an end, we could be moved onto probationary status. Probationary status is a little more significant for us, and it becomes public, so that colleges, universities, and residents would see the probationary status indicated on our website. Ultimately, I think someone is asking, what is the penalty or what are the consequences for losing accreditation? And they are pretty significant for students, for families, and the town overall. Our high school principal, Scott Hurwitz, spoke with someone from NEASC just today to clarify what the issues would be. And so first of all, it would mean that we would not be eligible to apply for federal grant funding, and that would have a significant impact on us. The college board does not allow a non-accredited high school to be a testing site. So that means that our students would still be able to take AP tests and SAT, but they wouldn't be able to take those tests at our high school. They'd have to go elsewhere. Colleges and universities really do pay attention to accreditation status, and the person that we spoke to from the New England Association of Secondary Schools and Colleges said that, really our top students who are applying to the most competitive colleges would be most impacted by a loss of accreditation. Another issue might be scholarships. Some colleges or the granting of funding for scholarships for college tuition are in jeopardy when students are applying for those grants from schools that are not accredited. And lastly, they said that really they've seen over the years that a loss of accreditation for a town's high school significantly impacts real estate values or property values, because people are looking to see that the town has an accredited and premier high school, so that it could ultimately have a big impact on property values and the real estate market in Farmington.
Bill, I see that you have your hand up. Is there something you'd like to add?
Just briefly, thanks, Kim, for all that. I just wanted to add that we have been on this level of scrutiny from NEASC for a considerable period of time. This is not something new. We're, I think, on our second go around, Kim, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Of these 5-year accreditation periods. And I sat through the accreditation in, I want to say 2014 when they came out, Kim, maybe 14 or 15 they came out, and we were interviewed, and they talked about that with the board at the time. And so, yeah, we were on our second go around with this, and we were all left with the impression that this is not something that's going to be continued into, or they're going to kind of just let it slide, that eventually they are going to enforce their standards on the Farmington schools. So this is an issue that needs to be addressed.
Thank you both. The next question that we have is how many students at FHS are disabled and using a wheelchair or walker to access programming? Mary, would you happen to have those numbers as well?
If I can unmute myself. No, I don't have those numbers. I do know that the number is relatively small on any given year. But we're required by law to have access for any handicapped student. So, you know, if we have only one handicapped student, we still have to be ADA compliant. But I think in addition to that, you have to keep in mind that adolescents are active people and they get injured in their sports or in their lives. And so although we may not have very many students who are permanently using walkers or wheelchair, we have a lot of students who temporarily will come in on crutches or in a wheelchair because they've been injured. So it's not something, it's something that we deal with. We have an antiquated elevator in the building that will get students up to the second and third floor of the 1928 building, but there are areas in the building that are completely inaccessible to anybody who can't walk. And that puts us out of compliance.
Thank you. And this next question that we received is also related to ADA. What are the repercussions if we continue to be out of compliance with ADA? How much will the project cost taxpayers if we wait and it doesn't pass this time around, but does next time? I don't know, Mary or Kim, if you guys want to elaborate, but it is a federal requirement for us to be in compliance, and we have been cited by the Office of Civil Rights for being out of compliance.
Yeah, I would just say that the Office of Civil Rights is not going to allow this to continue for years and years. I wish I could speak specifically to the consequence, but I'm sure there are, you know, they're going to demand that the building be accessible. And it's not something that we can just push down the road and you know, continue with sort of makeshift responses to things.
Thank you. The next question that we received is, what is the estimated 20-year cost of financing the new high school building? What is the assumed interest rate in your analysis? So this information we do have available. We are building out and finalizing a cost-specific page on our building committee website. All of this information was produced by the finance department and incorporated into the financial forecast that was delivered to town council. It's actually 4 separate bond issues, assuming the $110 million net town share. Our finance director would do that in 4 separate bond issues. And this is all based on assumptions. It's based on timing and cash flow needs and the economic conditions at the time. But it would be projected to be 4 bond issues, the first in January 2022 at $20 million, and that's assuming a 2.75% interest rate. The next one, January 2023, $45 million bond issue, that's 2.85% interest rate assumed. January 2024 is the next one, that's $25 million and a 2.95% interest rate. And January 2025, $20 million and a 3.05% interest rate assumed. Again, these are all assumptions, these and the financial forecast and all of that information will be on that cost specific page. The finance director and the building committee will be doing a cost specific presentation, digging into these numbers a little bit deeper to show that comprehensive financial forecast, which is inclusive of operating budget increases, our capital plan, bonding for roads, bonding $2.2 million every year for Board of Education specific projects that are for the K-8 facilities assessment, or also known as the Friars report. So that's all inclusive in that comprehensive forecast, and that cost specific meeting is part of our Topic Thursday series. It will be April 29th at noon. So I think that is all of the questions that we received so far. Again, submit questions online. We're happy to receive them, happy to clarify anything. And always submit them to our website, fhsbuildingproject.org. So I will turn it back over to you, Johnny.
There we go, unmute. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kat, for that. I just want to say that, going forward, we need to stay connected. We encourage everyone to visit the officially sanctioned factual website, www.fhsbuildingproject.org, as your source of information, updates, presentation recordings, and anytime you have questions regarding the project, you can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That concludes tonight's presentation. Thank you, everyone, for your time and your continued engagement.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.